Hello, future and new residents of the United States. Today we are going to talk about dating in the US. Who am I? I work for an international teacher recruitment agency and I've helped hundreds of people move to the US. And actually, this is a topic people ask me a lot of questions about. Some people are looking for love, it's a fresh new start, a new country. Other people, maybe they just want a green card. I don't know if you're one of my teachers and you're watching this, you're not going to get it from me. But let's talk about dating and what that's like in the US. So one thing that I have to mention is that the US is a really big country and there's different cultures, different religions, even location plays a big part into how people do things. So there's no right or wrong way that people date. There's no for sure this is how it's done everywhere way. Like I said, even if you're dating people that are pretty secular or amongst the same religion as you, unless you're very religious or something, typically it's kind of done in a similar way, but that location could matter, right? If you're in a more conservative traditional area, people take that approach. Maybe they're not necessarily politically conservative, but they are more so when it comes to a family structure, something like that. They're more traditional. And then you could be in a liberal, more open area where people do things a little bit differently, and maybe they don't want to get married as fast or settle down as quickly. So a lot of these things depend on location. And also what I wanted to mention is that in the US, you really do have the right to be yourself. So dating in the US is not just necessarily between a man and a woman. It could be between two men, two women, multiple partners, whatever people choose. There's something out there for you here. And again, if you live in a more conservative area, maybe people aren't as open about that. But if you're in a bigger city, there's definitely places you can go that will accept and want you the way you are, just the way you are. All right. So how does dating work in the US? And when I talk about American men and women and dating, I will try to keep my opinions and out of this. I will try to make this as non-biased as I possibly can and just stick to what I know. And most of what I know is, this information is going to apply to people that are around my age, but typically people around my age want to get married and have children, again, depending on where you live. So, how do you meet people? So most people, and I would say even some older people now, middle-aged and older, they meet through dating apps. I would say typically people that are my age and younger, that's the biggest way people meet is through an app. But then of course you have just the regular, whatever, school, common interests. Maybe you're in a club, a place of worship, through mutual friends. Those are all normal ways of meeting each other. And another thing I wanted to mention is that dating and being in a relationship in the US are two very separate things. So dating means that you're going on a date with a man or a woman and you're just getting to know that person, but you're not in a relationship, which means you're not exclusive to that person. You can do whatever you want and they are able to do whatever they want. And they might ghost you, which means they might never talk to you again, even after going on a few dates with you. It's not, I guess, the best way to do it, but they kind of are able to. They have that, not right, but they're not in a real relationship with you. Typically, people go on a few dates, they click, and then they'll have a conversation where they clearly set that boundary. Okay, yes, I want to be in a relationship with you. And at that point, unless otherwise said, and we do have people who are in open relationships, but typically that's when, you are committed to that person and they are committed to you. So in the US, typically a first date is pretty casual, but it could also be a nice dinner. He could go all out, but it's also acceptable for someone just to invite you to drinks, coffee, lunch, dinner, a walk, the movies, something like that. Again, I'm going to keep my personal opinions out of this. And typically the man will be the one that will pay for the first date. You know, a woman could chip in if she wants to. I don't think that would be considered outlandish or anything like that, but typically, at least the first date, a man will pay. In the US, we have pretty flexible gender rules. So it's not as, I would say, equal as a place like Sweden. I did live there for a while, and I would say that true equality between men and women is in Sweden. But right now, I am in the Middle East, and it's definitely not like here either, where men will always kind of monetarily take care of you. So in the US, we do have a good mix between. So let's talk about what that typical kind of timeline until people get married look like. So typically people date for a while, and if they want to get into a relationship, they will make that clear to each other. Okay, let's take this a step further. Let's get into a relationship. And then maybe after a year or two, they decide to move in together. Again, this is going to depend on the person. Some women don't want to move in until they're engaged, others until marriage, whatever. I'm just speaking very broadly. They'll move in together. They'll probably get a dog. We love dogs here in the US. Dogs are like family. And then, maybe they'll get engaged. Typically and traditionally, the man will ask the bride's soon-to-be bride, he hopes it'll be her bride, her father, if he can have her hand in marriage. I'm not sure if that's still how it's done for everybody today, but traditionally that's the way to go about it. And then they get married and then have 2 to 3 kids, I feel like is pretty average here. So when it comes to weddings, we are not a dowry society. So there's, unless you're a certain religion or something like that, but we don't really do that where you have a dowry, something like that. There's also no real expectation that one sole party has to pay for all of it. Normally couples will do this together. They save as much as they can. A lot of times their parents will help and chip in because it is a very expensive cost. But, it's also very common for couples, they do it together. Also, people can elope. A lot of people choose to do that, where they just go and sign the marriage contract and they do something really small. Maybe it's very intimate. It's just the two of them. Maybe they have like just some close friends there or family. But that's also very common, where people just kind of skip the celebration altogether because it is expensive. And then, like I mentioned, location plays a huge role into this. So I have worked with some teachers from more conservative countries. I'm in the Middle East right now. But by conservative, I don't necessarily mean Islamic either. I just mean more conservative. Like some places in Africa are pretty conservative the way women dress, and they have more traditional gender roles. But even in the US, you can see that a little bit. For example, if you date a girl in LA, of course, not all girls, but typically you can expect that girl to be dressed with less clothing. Maybe she's showing more skin. Whereas if you're in a small town in the South, people probably dress more conservatively as well, and they probably stick to more traditional gender roles. Women, when they have kids, they can be a stay-at-home mom if, their husband or whoever can provide for them. But a lot of women actually choose to work even after they've had kids because they have career goals, or maybe they enjoy it, or maybe they just need that second income. So it can go both ways. So that's something you really need to consider, especially if you have more of a traditional mindset. I'm not saying that in a place like LA you can't find that, but typically, people are just more open, they have more liberal values. So you really do need to decide what's best for you, and you might enjoy it. You might like the way that is. So men and women in the US, even the way we interact with each other might be different from what you're used to in your home country. I actually had a teacher from Kenya asked me if I cook. I was like, a little bit. oh, what do you cook? Oh, pasta. He was like, oh, in Kenya, like a woman could never serve her husband pasta. It's like, or noodles. It's just like a shame. So, these are cultural differences. Here, women do cook if they want to, but they don't necessarily have to. I would say that most men would probably like for you to cook, but I think the typical American man is probably happy with something basic in front of him. So the bar is not really high for that. Again, this is just my opinion. But ordering out is a big part of this culture as well. So that's not a big issue either. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. You have to pick someone that fits your needs, whether that is you want someone religious, someone traditional, someone more open. Maybe you want a girl that looks like a supermodel. And you want her to dress like that, or maybe you want a woman who's a lot more conservative, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. You just have to pick what suits you. And the good thing is the US is a huge country. There's many different types of people that live here, many different types of personalities, religions, all sorts of things. So I feel like in the US, you can find someone that will work best for you. All right, so this was fun. If you have any questions, please ask me, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.